Live.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's 8 o'clock. It's a Tuesday, and you know what time it is. It is time for the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Welcome back, gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Monday was fantastic. Fast, dove right in. Great huddle, had great responses, great conversations from the huddle. And then right in it, man.
A lot of National Forgiveness Day posts I saw after the huddle. A lot of people took that and ran with it, which was awesome. And so I'm going to touch on a national day today because I'm sure most of you have already opened your timelines and you've seen that people are celebrating National Sons Day. Not to be confused. Not to be confused with National Sons and Daughters Day, and not to be confused with National Daughters Day, which was on Sunday. And so, no, we're not going to celebrate National Sons Day on the show.
Come on.
Shay, give me the X. Because we celebrate National Sons Day pretty much every day on the show, and we've already celebrated it in March. And so, for those of you who are celebrating National Sons Day, have a great time with it. But we are moving on to other national days today, and we got a ton of great content to talk about.
I love it. Today is actually a really cool day. Tomorrow's an even better day. I love when I get a fastball.
I haven't seen what it is yet, but I'm glad.
I can hit out of the park. But today was cool. I mean, I love it. I love the fact that we prepare. Everybody's always asking, wow, must take a lot of work. I would do the work anyway. It stimulates my thought process. I go deep. I'm going to tell some great stories tomorrow. So stay tuned for Wisdom Wednesday.
That's awesome. And then for those of you who don't know, next week will be an out of the ordinary week because I will be gone Monday through Friday because I will be in Italy celebrating Andy Hill's wedding. And there will be guests popping in and out of the huddle the whole week. Look at that lineup. What an unbelievable lineup you got going on.
So, Koenig, we love, and he's coming on to talk about pink pumpkins. Lori, it will be a battle of the sexes. Bruce Turkel just wrote a book. He's a phenomenally entertaining human being. Sean Flood's our old bud from Ireland. I am on the board of his investment fund, and he's going to come on board and speak. And then we're going to wrap it up with the Jakester, killing it with sports, entertainment, and do not miss next week. You may not have a job when you come back.
We'll find out. We will find out when I come back whether or not I'm still welcomed on the huddle. But until then, today
Lori is auditioning hard. Okay?
So until then,
do a fan count, and she's gonna go.
Until then, today is still my show. So let's go to the morning wake up music, and then we will get started with some content.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Come on! Wake up, everybody! Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody! No more sleeping in bed. No more about the thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on now.
So before we kick off your content, could have gone with Teddy yesterday because Teddy was one of the original Soul Train guys. So Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
I love that. So we're going to talk about soul, and there's definitely somebody that we're about to talk about who's got soul, who's got swag. I mean, he might have even invented swag. And really, with there being absolutely nothing out there to celebrate about Florida State, this is the only thing to celebrate. So I was scrolling through my timeline the way people do, and I came across this post from Deion Sanders, Coach Prime himself, that I thought was an absolute nugget that we should share and have a conversation about. Shay, show me Coach Prime.
Everybody some people have ATMs, right? You got somewhere where you get money. You use the bank some type of way. Hopefully by now you have. If you had, you got to have a deposit in order to make a withdrawal. Have you deposited enough in this week to make a withdrawal on Saturday? You really got to ask yourself dead serious. Have you made a deposit sufficient enough to make the withdrawal that you want on Saturday night? See, the thing about it, we're not making deposits, then you're asking yourself for something on Saturday night that's phenomenal, and it ain't there. Because we ain't put in enough. In the weight room, we ain't put in enough academically to make a deposit for school, to have good grades. We haven't put in enough physically, athletically, film-wise, to make the withdrawals that we want in front of our parents and our home crowd on Saturday day. Fella, the enemy is something else. And what the enemy is trying to do with me is trying to attack my mobility, trying to attack your stability. That has nothing to do with my ability. So I'm not gonna stop. You can't stop. I'm not gonna stop. So you ain't gonna stop. Try to attack mobility to affect my ability to coach y'all, to inspire y'all, to encourage y'all, to motivate y'all, to hold y'all accountable. We ain't gonna allow that. So don't let nothing in your life, in your personal life, affect your mobility and your stability. Do you understand what I'm really trying to say? Because it's deep what I'm trying to tell you. If you really analyze it when you walk away from here, you'll understand I want the best for y'all. I want y'all to be out there, to go out there and be all you could darn be. But the enemy has a job too, to affect and infect you. Oftentimes it just affect your mind with a thought. You ain't got it. And you start believing that mess. You ain't that. You start believing that mess. He's better than me. You start believing that mess. They better than us. You start believing that mess. I'm tired. You start believing that mess. I'm hurt. You start believing that mess. I'm injured. I can't think. I can't study. I ain't smart. I ain't intelligent enough. I don't deserve that. We at HBCU. You start believing this foolishness. And the enemy's just attacking all of that ability. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. You better than this. I'm better than this. And we gonna hunt this weekend. Are we not? Yes, are we not? Yes, sir. Work your stuff. The enemy trading head. Trying to attack my mobility and my stability. We forgot all about my ability to think my way out this thing. See, ladies and gentlemen, this ain't got nothing to do with sports. You're dealing with something right now. You're going through something right now. You're in the midst of something right now. Do not let the enemy attack your mobility or stability, because you still have ability. And ride with that. Coach Prime, baby. Say it straight.
And welcome to the new head coach of the Florida State.
So I would love that. I mean, honestly, the program can't get any worse. So if they were to bring him in, he's not prepared to operate at that level yet, it'd be fine, I think, because what he can deliver with culture is very, very strong. And there's a lot that I want to unpack from what he said there, because the very first thing he talked about deposits. He talked about you're going into the bank on Saturday, and he's talking about game day performances. He's like, you're going to pull something out on Saturday that's not there because you haven't done what you needed to do Monday through Friday in order to be able to perform at that level. You're looking for something extraordinary on Saturday, but until you've put in the extraordinary Sunday through Friday, you can't do that.
I've been using that analogy for a really, really long time. And one of the cool things about the huddle for both of us is it's a reminder. That was a very simple concept for me to understand. I learned, I had a checking account when I was younger. I would get allowance. If I wanted to buy something, I couldn't buy it until I had enough money to buy it. So he breaks it down. It's really simple. And that's what happens to people is they show up and expect the money to be there, the tank to be full. They expect all that. It doesn't happen until you do the daily work and do the stuff that nobody wants to pay attention to, that nobody's watching. That's where it comes to, bang. When you get your statement, it's there, baby. It's in writing.
So that to me is so what, and this goes to everything in your life. What are your priorities? And then how are you putting a daily deposit into that priority? We talked about it in relationships, right? You talked about it with the positive to negative, right? You got to be, how many interactions are you having that are positive as opposed to negative? Those are deposits. Every positive interaction with somebody is a deposit into that relationship. Every virtual coffee is a deposit into you developing new business and creating more opportunities. So if you're not doing those things, how could you ever ask for the results to come? You're pulling out of a bank account that's on E. That's on zero.
When we break it down and talk about the work that we need to do, Saturday morning, I pulled 20 new potential relationships out of LinkedIn. Someone either commented on a post that was cool. They sent me an invite that had nothing on it. I did some research. I invited somebody in New Jersey who was the head of Prudential to come to the Huddle. Zillion ways that you can connect. That's the grunt work. The minute and this is where the enemy, which I love that.
Yeah, we're going there next. We're going there next.
The enemy is all about
2 jobs.
Look at me. I already made it. I don't need to do it. I'm already there. I'm better than that guy. That's a crock of shit. You get better every day in order to show up on Saturday. For us, when there's an inbound opportunity, I know it came from the work. So the enemy is the one that works against you going,
well, the enemy has he says the enemy has 2 jobs: to affect you and infect you. Right. Which he's just the way he delivers messages. He is the ultimate preacher of preachers. But the enemy has 2 jobs: to affect you and infect you. And what he's going through physically right now is he just had back surgery. That's why he's on crutches. That's why he's driving around in the cart. And what he's talking about is the enemy's trying to affect my mobility and my stability. But that has nothing to do with my ability because of his mindset. He's willing to think his way out of the circumstances that he's in to still be able to coach, to still be able to mentor, to still be able to do everything he can do to get his team where it needs to be. But if you looked at his sweater, he's got a sweater that says, I believe, and the I is highlighted in believe because it's individual. You have to believe it. He has to believe that he can think his way out of the back surgery and still be able to do what he needs to do, because none of your circumstances have anything to do with your ability if you don't let it affect your mind.
So it reminds me of when I would stand in front of my sales team, when we were in the phone business. We had a big sales team, and I would start out every single, time we got together, I would start out by, listen, if you look yourself in the mirror and don't believe that we are the best and that we are worth the extra money, the extra time, if you don't believe that, you can leave right now because you're already done. You beat yourself. It's
right.
over. There's no point in going through the motions, because if you don't win your mind first, the actions won't follow. That's the power of the enemy. That's the power. Now, whether you're religious or not doesn't matter, but there is a visual of the devil.
Sure.
When the devil steals your heart and soul, that's the job. So when you focus on it and say, I'm going to do the work, because as soon as you do the work, the devil runs away, man.
What are you willing to believe, right? Like that you can choose to believe that you're worth it. You can choose to believe, or like he said, and I love the fact that he said, like, we're at a HBCU, like a historic Black college. That's an excuse. That's a crutch for those kids to say, oh, well, we're not as good as those other teams, or we don't have the resources that these other schools have. It's an excuse. It has nothing to do with putting the work in Monday through Friday to be good enough to win on Saturday. And that's what it really comes down to, is that it's all about the work.
I had Matt Williams on the other day. He's the founder of FroPro. And I said, do people walk up to you and go, oh, wow, man, you're like an overnight success?
Sure.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing, because people, he's been working forever. He's gone as low could be. That's how you understand what the highs are. So back to Dion, his way of articulating a message is a gift in and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I would listen to him every day. I mean, if you dress well, then pay well, whatever that, saying was, he was that. He put stuff together. This is a lesson for all of us: short, sweet, and memorable. Those are the things that you can take away, affect and infect. Boom. I already got that in 2 words. There's a concept there. So thanks for sharing that. I have a presentation today to an insurance company in New York, and I'm putting in that slide.
The affect and infect?
No, the entire speech.
Oh, I love it. I love
We're
it.
in the fourth quarter now. This is the time you got to look inside. What do I have in me that can make a difference? Right.
Will you do the work?
Right.
Will you do the work?
Right.
Will you do the work? So I love that. Let's get to some morning motivational music, and then we will continue on with the National Day.
So that's a Take Me Back Tuesday song, because that song's 1976 or 77. You know, that takes me back when I was 17 years old, going to concerts at the Miami Baseball Stadium, seeing Boston just rip Barner and Bob Seger. And you know what? It's 50 years later. That shit still works, man.
I had this conversation with, I think it was Jake the other day. I just said, it's interesting to see, or I'm interested to see what music lasts the way it did, right? Like that music lasts so long because it was revolutionary. It was different. Nobody was making music like that. Nobody had made music like that. You know, and that was one of my favorite classes that I took in college, was modern popular music, and learning about the influences of genres and how they developed decade after decade after decade. And I feel like we're at a point now in music where everything just gets reused. Everybody's sampling sounds, everybody's pulling from other people's sounds and recreating what was already done. So the classics will live forever, I think, you know?
I mean, look at, Eric Clapton was 76 and he got up, he could have played for a week and you would sing along with every song and know it. It all had meaning. I mean, when he did Cocaine, the place was,
did he do White Room?
What?
Did he do White Room?
Didn't do White Room. I was so hoping that was going to be the encore.
In the White Room.
Curtains and the
Cream. That's actually Cream, right?
The shit sticks. And I think we have the Beatles to thank for that, because all of this is an extension of the Beatles type of music. It was, rock, but it was understandable. And so, to your point, it'd be very interesting to see what sticks in the next 30, 40 years.
I love it. So today is National Ask a Stupid Question Day, which I love because I believe that there are no stupid questions to ask.
Are you stupid?
So,
on purpose. I ask people all the time, what are you, stupid, man?
When we work with, especially with some of the young sales professionals that I've worked with, they always ask, like, well, how do I have the virtual coffee, right? Like, okay, great, I asked for the virtual coffee, but now what do I do in the virtual coffee? And, my response back to them is always ask questions, and I'll role play with them and I'll work in a scenario where, like, I'll be the person they're having a virtual coffee with and I'll give them something back and be like, what would you say to that? And they're like, well, I would say this. And I'm like, wrong. Ask another question, like lead it to another question. So, Mark, can does
he know? That is out of bounds for me. You cannot pick my nose, pick my brain, pick my friends. Forget it. You want me to experience share with you? I'll do it all day long, but do not ask to pick my brain, baby.
I'm happy to hop on a virtual coffee with you, Christian, for an hour. I don't know, but I'm definitely willing to start at 15 minutes and give you a 15-minute buffer to see where it goes.
Money. Yeah. There we go.
So I am a data-driven human being, right? Like everything I do, I want to know the science behind it. I want to know the data behind it. That's my mindset from coming out of coaching and coaching football. Was every decision I made, I was, steering myself with data. So Gong Labs comes out with this study of over 500,000 B2B sales conversations, right? And the data that they find is that, consistent with past research, the data shows a strong connection between the number of questions a salesperson asks and his or her sales conversion rate, meaning that the more inquisitive you are about the other person, the more successful you are in sales. It also shows that top-performing salespeople tend to scatter questions throughout the sales call, which makes it feel more like a conversation than an interrogation. So here's my number one problem with most sales training is that they bring you in and then they say, okay, here's your list of 25 questions that we want you to ask people to qualify them as a prospect. So all those people are trained to do is show up. Hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. Ask the 25 questions and I'm out. There's no conversation there. There's no active listening there.
The whole idea of, it's called, I love this interrogation thing, because when someone says, I'd like to do a diagnostic on your business, that's like, I don't want you to stick anything in my business or stick anything in my body. That just feels intrusive, if it comes up in conversation where, and this is very similar to going to the doctor. Doctor asks you a couple of questions and you say, well, doc, it really hurts over here. The doctor's going to unpack the hurt by asking you further questions. So linear. We're all used to doing that. What's the matter? Okay, I have a pain over here. Okay, well, either stop doing what's causing the pain or we'll help you. All of a sudden in business, we think that dialogue changes and becomes very sterile. It becomes an experiment, intrusion, when all of the great answers come from when someone is more relaxed. When they feel safe in the environment, then you're not going to pounce all over them. So the words today that we used between Dion and all of this stuff, if you focus on the words, the dialogue follows.
1,000%. And that's really what active listening is, and that, we talked about buyer behavior and we talked about active listening being the number one quality that sales professionals should show. That just right with this information follows right along with that. In order to be an active listener, you have to ask great questions. You have to ask personal questions. You have to be actually intensely curious about that person and genuinely curious in order to say, I don't have a script of questions. I want to learn about you, and wherever this conversation goes, you're going to lead there, because everything I'm asking and everything I'm learning is going to be based off of the information that you give me. And that's the way you build a relationship up front to then do everything else.
I think it goes back to what's your intent. If you're asking questions with the intent to sell, right, you're already shot yourself in the foot. If you're asking questions with the intent to legitimately, authentically build a relationship, what happens if that person is not a fit for you, but they know three people that are? What would you rather do? Do the one transaction or get a 3-for-1 or a 5-for-1? And that's really how I built my career. Was everybody produces value. It's on you to figure out what value they provide to you. And the value, the bottom, the worst denominator is the actual transaction. There's so much more to life.
I love it. Let's go. So a fantastic start to a Tuesday. We had great stuff from Coach Prime. We talked a lot about asking questions. Go get after it today. Get down to business and stay on the ball.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like